that area, that walk area needs to be clear, okay? And I understand that there's more things that we need to have on our stands beside us, but keep that in mind as we're as we clutter up the stand, that, maybe once a week, okay, I know I gotta declutter that because I don't wanna have a trip hazard. And if something falls off, I could have a hazard that I could fall on, okay? And we really wanna keep you from falling. So, talking about that, any of you have steps anymore? Everybody's pretty well on the level, and that's good. So we won't have to, but if we did, again, steps are a catch-all, and especially as we get older, we don't want to have to make that trip upstairs and downstairs and upstairs and downstairs. So what we do is, a lot of times I find that folks want to set things on the step, and then I'll get it later. And I even have to tell kids this, and grandchildren this, don't put things on the step because mom and dad could trip. You think about at night when the lights are off and you're in a hurry and you come down the step, all it takes is clutter on the step, and you can have a catastrophe, a very serious fall. So I talk to little kids when I work with injury prevention, and I talk to older folks, and both of them I tell them no clutter on those steps, because that is just an accident waiting to happen. So we want to keep our steps clear. If you think you need to put it away, put it away. Don't go halfway. Go all the way and get it done, and then it's done. Okay? All right. Another thing to think about.
One thing that they say is people trip on their pet.
Oh, sometimes, yes.
Their dog.
Yep, because they want to be right by you.
Yeah.
Yep,
yeah,
and they lay
do.
right beside you.
Yeah.
Yes.
A dog or a cat.
Yep, dogs or cats, because the cats like to curl up right around, or, yes,
Yeah.
that's a good point. Very good point.
Water is another one that'll make you trip.
Water, yes,
Yeah.
sliding. So they always say that if you spill, make sure you clean it up immediately. If you know that there's been a spill, clean it up immediately, because let's face it, sometimes we get into something else and we forget that it happened, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, and then we've fallen. Okay. Another thing is electrical cords. Do any of you have electrical cords for lamps, for TVs, for radios, things like that? Those cords, we shouldn't have them coming across the floor at all. They should, keep them along the edge if we can. If you indeed need to have a cord that's coming to maybe your stand, your lamp next to your bed, or next to your chair, then we need to make sure we've got a cord protector. We don't want to put a rug over it and then think that that's okay, because what happens is that coating on that cord, as that rug is walked on, does this. And when it does this, what happens to that cord? It actually takes the coating right off the cord, and the wires become exposed after time. So there is I don't have one of those for an example, but there's cord protectors. So there's just like a little rubber ridge, and you can put that over those cords if you indeed have to have one that's across the room. But if you can, keep those cords out of the way as well. And like we said, now shoes are a trip hazard, believe it or not. If you have even a lug sole, a heavier, a thicker sole, they're saying, is it really safe? A good tennis shoe. Okay, a good solid tennis shoe. These are easy on, easy off. All right, those you can get at the dollar store. You can get it at Shopko, at Walmart. Easy on, easy off. They've got the Velcro even. Okay, so and they're sporty looking. All right. How about these? Would these be safe? No. There was a day that these were very fashionable, right?
Yeah.
We have now reached the age of we need sensible, fashionable shoes. And a heel is not really a sensible, fashionable shoe any longer. I can say that I can no longer wear heels myself, okay? Because I've just reached that point where I need to have a good, solid shoe on. So this here is not good. This is an example of a good shoe. Here's another good shoe. It's got a nice sole on it. It's not gonna slip. And they're nice and solid, sturdy, and they're fashionable. They're a nice looking shoe. All right, so that's what we need to be looking at, okay? How about our clothing? What about our clothing? How can that be a hazard? Does anybody have how about loose clothes?
Yeah, those long clothes.
Long clothes? long, yep, the longer the length, flowing, like get hung up. You can get hung up as you walk by a chair. You can get hung up as you shut the door. It may catch, catch in the door. So think of that when you're getting dressed. How are my clothes today? Are they, and a lot of us don't like fitting clothes. You don't like that tight feeling. You want something that's loose and flowing, but don't wear it overly baggy. Don't wear it overly loose so that you can get it hung up on things. Even sitting in the chair, if you're sitting here and you slide out with the chair, if you've got a long flowy skirt or a long flowy jacket on, it could get hung up on here. You go to stand up and what happens is you go over.
Or your own shoes getting caught in the
Sure.
material.
Absolutely. Getting your shoes stuck, where you actually step on the corner while you're sitting and you stand up and then it pulls you off balance. So yeah, be very, very, conscientious of what you're putting on and, you don't want it fitting snug, but we want it to fit, not to be too loose on you so that it's flowy and all over. So, and we talked about books and magazines. So we want to make sure that if we have books and we're a magazine reader, we have those things up. We don't want them in piles on the floor around us because piles make a trip hazard. So we want to make sure that if we're using those things and we're reading books, and I encourage books because I think, there's a lot of knowledge that comes from reading a good book. And I think as well, we are so into our tablets and our things like that, and it's really, that kind of light is hard on our eyes. So, not that I'm discouraging that either, I'm not. But if you're a book reader, make sure that you've got them put up and put in a safe spot that you're not going to trip on those, okay? And keeping that clutter to a minimum. All right, so how can you help keep the clutter down? What can we do? We talked about this, but tell me, what can you do to help keep your clutter down?
Get a wife who runs after you all day and picks it all up.
Hire cleaning people.
Yes.
I don't,
Yeah.
I'm messy by nature, but it's a
I
constant.
said, get a wife who will run after you and pick
Yep.
up your mess.
It's nice, yes, if you're able to do it, make it a habit. Every couple days, every week, make sure that you're picking up and you're getting things cleaned up. And if you're not that kind of person, or you're not able to, then there are people, and we'll talk a little bit about that at the end, but there are folks out there that will do light housekeeping for you, that will come in. There's lots of companies out there that will do that, and you can talk to your ADRC, and they can help you out, and so can the stay in place at folks here in Spring Valley. They can also help. It's a great group that we have now, and they do good things, so that you've got the resources, you just have to reach out. Okay, all right. So we're going to talk a little bit about lighting. How is your lighting at your home? How do you feel that the lighting is at, let's say that you have to get up and use the restroom in the evening. How is your lighting to the restroom?
Got a night light on all the time.
Good, I like to hear that. A night light on all the time. You know what? These are the best darn things. These night lights, I've had these in the hallway since my kids were little. I have one in my bedroom, right on the edge, and that lights up the whole floor. Okay, and it doesn't disturb my husband, who the minute that a light is on, he's up and running. He thinks that we gotta go again. And so we don't always have to run when the lights come on. So, but these are great. Have these little lights alongside your bed, like, plug them in at the head of the bed so they illuminate the floor so you can see where you're going, okay? And these are cheap. These are $1 or $2 down at the dollar store. Go to Matt's. Matt has a lot of these. He'll hook you up. So a lot of the things that I have, you can get at either down at Matt's or at the dollar store, okay?
That one has to be turned on.
This one here, no,
Comes on.
this one's on all the time. It's got a sensor.
Okay.
It's got a
I was
sensor.
gonna say,
so-
we have one in our bathroom and it stays on all the
Yep.
time because
We don't have any.
we don't have to remember.
There
we
you
don't
go.
have any windows or use.
Yeah, there's no
Yeah.
window in the bathroom,
Yeah.
but we don't have to remember.
Yeah,
to
that's
turn it on.
perfect. Yep, that's what this one is. This one will actually, it's on. So it's got and there are
It's got
sensors.
that light thing.
How
Yep,
long does it last?
that will last until the light bulb burns. Well, actually, it's got a little sensor right here too. These lights last a long, long time. I would bet you they last up to a year. Yeah, or longer. I've had the one in my bathroom. I actually have like I said, I have these all over the house. Okay, So, because I have grandchildren that come and stay, and this has been when it was my children, and then we went through potty training with my grandchildren, and then we went through, now they're getting to be preteens, and so these are a lifesaver. When they have to get up and go to the bathroom, they don't worry, because it's just illuminated right in, and then I have one right in the bathroom, and that one stays on all the time, and I can tell you, I have had that 5 years, and it's stayed on all the, I've never replaced it. Never replaced it, it's just an LED.
Remarkable.
Yeah, LED, and it just, and the other thing is as silly as this is, but what about a headlamp? You put this right on, your hand's free, so I'll put it on. I usually have a fireman that likes to do this, so I don't have to, but I'll do it today for you guys. Beautiful hairdo, so there you go.